Hello and welcome to Blueprints Behind Business interview series. I'm your host, Brad Douglas, and today I'm joined by Sal Pece with Xennial Innovations. Sal, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Brad. Great to be here.
If you could give us a little background and a little bit of information about Xennial.
Sure. I'm Sal Pece. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Xennial Innovations. We started Xennial about 13 years ago. It was a partner and I, Maurice Yu. The reason I bring up Mo is because when we started the business, it was a 50-50 split. I don't believe in the 51-49%. We were like equal partners across the board, and we complement each other really, really well. We do digital product development. We bring digital visions to life for large enterprise corporations. And our kind of niche was when these large corporations go and they go to our largest competitors, and those competitors can't really keep up with what they want. They come to us, and we bring that vision to life.
Fantastic. Yeah, anyone out there needs to take a look at the site and what you guys do. Great case studies for sure. Let's get back to kind of the beginning. What inspired you to start your own business?
I guess it came from being a little kid and always wanting to try to make some money or not having a lot of money when I was young. I always tell the story about Transformers. So back in 1984, way back, 40 years ago, Transformers came out and I loved them. I wanted to collect every single one, but my family could only afford 2 or 3 at most. So I started bringing my creativity to the front and started creating little Transformers out of paper, cut them out, color them, and then eventually start selling them around the neighborhood. And I think a lot of this comes back to my dad. He was an entrepreneur himself. He had come over from Italy. He started working up the ranks and eventually bought into a company. I remember them calling me into my parents calling me in the living room and asked me, "Do you know what a boss is?" I said, "Yeah, somebody that tells people what to do." And they're like, "Yes, exactly." It's not quite that. I've learned. But he bought into the company, was successful for a few years before his partner kind of encouraged him to leave the business in not so nice a way, and kind of took advantage of it. And I saw what the impact was to my dad, and I swore to myself that any future business I wouldn't be taken advantage of because I would make sure that I learned every aspect of the business. But this also comes back to why I partnered 50-50 with my colleague Mo, is because I never wanted him or myself to ever feel that way. So we build off of each other. When he works 60 hours a week, I got to work 70. It's we push each other, but it's really a match made in heaven. I couldn't have done this without him.
It sounds like a fantastic partnership for sure. So, thinking back in some of those earlier days or even today, are there any kind of common misconceptions about running a business? And have you found good ways to address those?
I would say one of the biggest misconceptions is that when you start growing, you can just hand things off to people to take care of for you. Well, I don't want to do HR. I'll let someone else do it. I don't want to take care of the banking. I don't want to do all of the things that are not business related.
Mhm.
And when you start abdicating, when you just hand those things off, you can lose control of the business very, very quickly. So, common misconception is that eventually you can grow to the point where you can just let go of that. I don't think that's ever the case. You can definitely delegate those, but you have to set expectations and make sure you follow through on the delivery and ultimately what the results are you expect from the people you delegate those tasks to.
Great advice. Yeah, I appreciate that insight. So, can you share maybe a valuable lesson or just a piece of advice that you wish you had known prior to starting your business?
I think one of the keys when I originally kind of started it was independently on my own for a short period of time. Um, I thought that I could work for 6 months and then take 6 months off. That was kind of the intent. What actually happened is I started working, saved up some money, and then decided to keep making more money. And the only way to do that was to take on more projects. So I took on a second and a third all at the same time.
Mm.
And I got very, very burnt out very, very quickly. Um, so I guess my valuable lesson was to start partnering, to start delegating a lot of this work to others. Uh, I was able to scale up much more quickly in this manner than trying to rely just on myself for everything.
Mm.
So that was a hyper valuable lesson, um, and I'm not sure if other people have shared this. At the time, I had burnt myself out so bad that I'd actually discovered I had thyroid cancer,
Oh,
and kind of took that in stride
mm.
as I was working 2 or 3 contracts, because now I had dependents. I had just gotten married. I had a kid on the way, so now I wanted to support provider survivor mode, and the only way to do that was to start working with others as well.
A lot all at one time.
Yeah, but I wouldn't change a thing at all.
Yeah.
It, it was probably one of the happiest times of my life too, because I had gone out of the rat race.
Mm.
Um, I was working full time at an organization, and I knew I was going to leave. So about 6 months before I left, I was called in to the manager's office and for performance review, and he says, "Where do you see yourself in 6 months?" And I said, "Not here."
Mm.
And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I'm leaving. Start training my replacement now. I'm preparing to leave." And that manager said, "Oh, okay." I guess he didn't believe me because he didn't do a thing. So
Uh,
when I did finally leave, he was so shocked and surprised. But I know full well that I was in that meeting and gave him 6 months notice, basically. But in that type of business, they have immediate needs they need addressed. I was able to fill that, and he had other priorities that they needed to take care of. So it's just one of those stories I share because leaving, I knew that I did everything in my power to create a positive exit strategy, because I had bigger aspirations, and knowing what I that vision I had that I had to achieve, I spent those 6 months completing my work, but also preparing. Every bus ride home, I was studying, reading, writing, uh, putting articles out there, promoting my knowledge and myself. And now I bring those same kind of strategies to the business as a whole. I want all of our employees to create a brand for themselves inside of Xennial and outside. I want to make sure that anything they create, they can take with them as they grow in their career.
Fantastic leadership. So, thinking about it, you have innovation in your business name. So, could you, give us, how do you stay adaptable? Things change so quickly these days. Innovation, new technologies, everything comes out almost daily. It seems like. Of course, Chat GPT and AI and everything else has been, not necessarily Chat GPT, but innovation. AI has been around, but it's accelerating very, very quickly. How do you stay adaptable?
I think I've always kind of had that in my DNA because I wrote an article recently about my grandmother's lasagna recipe. And the reason I bring this one up is because I would watch her in the kitchen, and she was an incredible cook, but everything took 6 to 7 hours,
Mm.
right? The sauce had to be cooked a certain way. You could only use these ingredients. She had a best practice process that she would follow no matter what. And then I started asking questions, but why? Why this, right? And she had her wooden spoon, and you kind of learn to shut up. But when I started cooking, um, I started asking questions. Why does that have to be done this way? Can it be done this way? And I started experimenting. So all the best practices, processes that have existed for years, I kind of look at them now as obsolete, or
Mm.
at least I question: Are they now obsolete with ChatGPT, with AI? And I'm finding that the answer is yes across the board. Or how else can we accelerate things? How else can we improve hiring, improve delivery, improve the way we code? Everything is changing. So I think asking why or why can't we change this is probably the most important thing. And I think it's going to be the only way that we stay ahead of our competitors,
Mhm.
because we're talking about these large monolithic corporations. They're getting on the AI bandwagon and everything else, but it's just their sheer size that's kind of directing them. I want to be that little powerboat that zooms all over
Right.
them and helps train the next generation to really bring innovation to life by asking why
Mhm.
on all things.
Yeah, having that nimbleness is really important. Great insight there. So can you tell us maybe a little bit more, a glimpse into the future of where you think Xennial is going, and anything that you could potentially share on your journey?
Sure, we've had kind of exponential growth in the past 2.5, 3 years. So Xennial's been around for 13 years. We grew from kind of a two-person team to a core group of 4 and 5, and now we're over 50. And
Mm,
that growth has happened again over the past 2.5 years. So to continue growth, I'm projecting a team of 200 plus within the next year and a half. But I'm using the next 2 quarters to take a step back. I read an HBR article recently about growth and how to continue to grow. And one of the biggest piece of advice I got from that article was take a look at your bottlenecks and make sure you fix them now.
mhm,
And that's exactly what I'm doing. So we're going to take a step back. We're going to focus on our biggest bottleneck to success, which is really our technical leads. It's building the leaderships within building leadership within the company and really creating new technical leads for every single product, because they're going to be the ones that take the Xennial brand, that take the lessons, that question why all the time,
mm.
and really bring up the next generation of leaders as well. With with that kind of focus, I project 4 or 5 times growth easily within the next year and a half. But I want to take the next 2 quarters to really solidify the foundation to make sure that our franchise uh, can explode and everything is in place.
I'll wish you all the best in that, and hopefully you do hit those numbers.
Thank you.
So kind of in closing here, what advice would you give to an aspiring entrepreneur, just getting started on their journey?
I would say one of the biggest pieces of advice is to focus on learning sales. You can be the best technical expert in the industry, but if you can't sell yourself, you're not going to find the next opportunity. You're going to be so focused on your work, you're going to become obsolete ultimately.
Mm,
And if you don't have that next gig in place, you're gonna fall short. This happened to me multiple times because when we talk about, well, when did you start Xennial? Xennial was really the third or fourth iteration of my technical company launches. But every time I launched, had a project, I would complete it and then fall over and fail. Go get a full-time job, start again, fall over and fail. But every time I failed, I learned something new. And probably the biggest lesson was learn how to do sales yourself
mm.
and ultimately network. Make a lot of friends in the industry. I'm happy to call you one of my newest friends, Brad.
Perfect.
We're going to be a whole lot more, and I'm hoping to make some additional friends from this podcast as well.
Yeah, wonderful. Great advice there and insight. Appreciate you joining us today, Sal. It was great meeting you. Great learning more about Xennial. I hope to hopefully have you back sometime. But yeah, we'll get this out there. And for everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Talk to you soon.